Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Christopher Aaron, founder of iGold Advisor. I have a special guest here with me today. Mr. Larry Yao is the CEO of Spanish Mountain Gold. Spanish Mountain Gold is a Canadian company with a 4.1 million ounce measured and indicated gold resource sitting in the ground in politically safe British Columbia, Canada. And so today we're talking with gold prices just around the $1,910 mark. And just for information, Spanish Mountain is a public company which trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the tickers SPA and also on the US exchange on the ticker SPAZF. Now, for full disclosure, as we start this interview, I must state that I am not being paid nor compensated by Spanish Mountain Gold to conduct this interview. I am and my clients are shareholders in Spanish Mountain, and this is because we have performed thorough independent research of gold mining companies, and we believe that Spanish Mountain is a company that is going to succeed over the long run. The following interview does not constitute a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. So once again, Larry, thank you for taking the time to be here today and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christopher. Good to be with you.
So I wanted to start today, Larry, just with a bit of a background for those who are not familiar with Spanish Mountain Gold. Could you give us a brief history of the project itself? For example, when was gold first discovered at the site there in British Columbia, and how long have you been involved with the project?
Okay, sounds good. Our project is located, as you said earlier, in the province of British Columbia in Canada. It is right in the region called Caribou. Caribou really has a storied history of gold rush going back at least 100 years. So definitely there's a lot of gold there, and there's a lot of activities in the past century or so. Very intensive exploration happened on the property around 20 years ago. We defined the first resource around 2008, and it has been growing ever since then. As you said earlier, we have identified approximately 5 million ounces, and it's still growing. I personally joined the company as CFO about 10 years ago and took over as CEO about 5 years ago. And as it happened, just about everyone in management have been with the company for about that long, about 10 years. So we have incredible continuity in our understanding of the project.
That's great. Great to hear. Can you tell us a little bit about where the company is at this exact moment? I saw there was a news release that actually came out just today talking about a pre-feasibility study that is pending for the first half of next year. But so could you tell us a little bit more about the overall resource? You know, again, we mentioned those figures approaching 5 million ounces of gold in the ground, but tell us a little bit about the overall resource. And then tell us a little bit about this strategy of pursuing the dual phase strategy with the higher grade core.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it is the very exciting time for our shareholders. As I said earlier, we've been working on it for 10, 20 years now, and we are getting very serious in terms of advancing the phase one into hopefully to construction and production. And we just announced our preliminary feasibility study, or PFS, because the amount of work we have done on the project, so we can make it happen very quickly. So we're targeting delivery in the first quarter of 2021, which is a mere 6 months from now. So we're very excited about that. So that's objective number one. Objective number two is that as big as a resource we have identified, we see a lot more potential to grow it. As we speak right now, we have drill turning on site. So we are hopeful that we can incorporate all the drilling result into our resource estimate that will come out together with the PFS. So when we release the PFS, of course, we'll have the economics for phase one, which is basically the near surface, higher grade portion of the project. So we thought we would fast track that. So we see the economics. At the same time, it will come with a reserve statement as well as the overall resource. So we're very excited about the first quarter of 2021.
So how large do you expect the phase one reserve statement to be in relation to the overall resource?
Okay, we went by, if you went by the PEA that we did about a year ago. At the time, it was a different environment for gold developer or gold mine developer. At the time, everyone was trying to conserve capital. So we were thinking of, to strike a modest balance between the capital requirement as well as what the market can sustain. So we came up with a throughput of 10,000 tons per day. The idea was that, okay, we're going to require modest CapEx. At the same time, we'll focus on a smaller portion of the resource, basically just to get the good stuff out first. So at the time, the PEA came out with very robust economics. For the first around 10 years of mine life, we're looking at taking out 1 million ounces of reserve. So right now, of course, the company has basically been transformed in the last few months. I think we'll get to that later on. And also more in response to the rising gold price environment. We just thought that we certainly have the potential and certainly the resources to make it a bit bigger. So in the PFS, we are targeting doubling the throughput from 10,000 per day to 20,000 tons per day. So we're hopeful that we'll get a lot more ounces out of the ground in the initial years, and hopefully that will improve the economics even further. Altogether, even though we'll take out 1 to 2 million ounces, we're just talking about a small portion of the overall resource. We are hopeful that as we make the resource even bigger in the coming months, we'll see that there will be a lot more potential in our project.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to follow up on that point for a brief moment here, Larry. So correct me if I'm wrong about this, but so the idea basically is to go after the core zone first, the higher grade core zone in that range of 1 to 2 million ounces. And then once that deposit is cash flow positive, and I should mention here that the estimate that we have right now, as far as costs, all-in sustaining costs, which are the cost to extract each ounce of gold out of the ground, are somewhere slightly below $600 per ounce. So am I understanding it correctly that as that basically every dollar above $600 per ounce flows directly to the company's profit in the bottom line once the mine is actually built? And so the goal is basically going to be to pay back that CapEx with the reserve, with the higher grade core. But that doesn't negate the entire rest of the deposit, which, as we said, is approaching 5 million ounces and hopefully larger. Because then with an open pit mine, you can begin to do additional studies on the rest of the resource and hopefully mine some of the rest of that resource, which could extend the mine life out even further. Am I understanding the process correctly there?
That's totally correct. Just as an indication of how robust the economics is, in our PEA, our base gold price assumptions was $1,275. even with that low, relatively low gold price assumption, we're expecting to pay off our capex, initial capex to build a mine within 3 years. Obviously, the gold price is a lot higher than that now. So we're hopeful that we'll even improve the economics more. And of course, when we double the throughput, that usually comes with economy of scale. We are hopeful that we will deliver even higher margin for every ounce of gold that we extract. And of course, as you said earlier, once the capex is paid off, the infrastructure is there. I mean, the mine is not going to disappear. In fact, it's far from it. We have, by that time, we'll have all the infrastructure. The mill is built. The people are there. So we can expect that the margin will further expand. Of course, in the phase one, we're just mining a small portion of the resource. There's a lot more ounces there. They're not going anywhere. They will continue to be mined and put through the mill and generate cash flow for our shareholders. I always told people that this is a very large resource. Once it's built, I think many generations of miners will be working there. We're very excited about the prospect. In fact, that's a strong selling point for our project to the community, because nobody wants a mining project to come in here and finish it within a few years and then get out. We always told people that when we go in, we're going to be a part of the communities for generations to come. We get very good reception because of that.
Nice to hear. And I have been up there to that part of the world before, and it is beautiful. So it's nice to hear that you have a good working relationship with local people in that region there, the local citizens. Larry, could you tell me, prospective shareholders like to know whether or not management has any skin in the game. So in other words, could you tell us a little bit more about how much of the company that, let's say, management plus insiders and institutions own?
Okay. Well, the short answer to that is that we have lots of skin in the game.
Yeah.
Insider altogether own approximately 18% of the project, of the company, I should have said. And the thing is indication of how committed we are. None of the insider has ever sold one single shares in the past 10 years.
Wow.
And I personally participate in just about every private placement. And I can tell you that I'll be buying more shares in the years to come. So that 18% currently owned by insider, I suspect it will continue to grow. On top of that, there's another 30% or so by institutional investors. So putting the 30% and 18% together, I can say that we have plenty of long-term supporters of our project as shareholders, which is always good. That's no stronger indication of our confidence in the project. Just basically, we put the money where our mouth is. I think a lot of shareholders that I talk to, they feel very comfortable about that.
Yep, and you can include me in one of those categories there, Larry. So nice to hear. And some almost half. It looks like about 48% of the company is in fairly strong hands.
Absolutely, and thank you for your support. Yeah, and we like I said, I mean, we're just getting serious about developing on the potential of our projects. So we are accelerating our development as we speak right now. So yeah, the next year will be very exciting for our shareholders. We are working toward achieving serious milestone for our project.
Last question that I wanted to ask you today, Larry, is about a series of events that happened just this last summer with respect to the company. you recently raised over the last summer $14 million to finance this pre-feasibility study that's coming out, the new drilling program, the new resource estimate. Um, quite a significant raise of capital there, especially for, at the time, the entire valuation of the company was less than 25 million. So if you could go out and raise 14 million, that says something. And of that 14 million, we learned that 12 million of that alone was invested by a single person, who is the Canadian billionaire Eric Sprott, who many of our listeners will be familiar with. So he came in and he swooped up $12 million worth, which is basically 15% of the outstanding shares. What does it say to you? What was going through your head at the time with respect to the company when a single investor of such prominence comes in and in one swoop picks up 15% of the company like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that was an incredible endorsement of our project and our strategies. Eric was basically voting with his own money. I can think of stronger endorsement than the fact that he put his own money into the company. I think very few people without Eric's track records in mining investment. We did 3 rounds of financing with him within a month. And that was a period our share price was rising rapidly. Clearly, that tells me he sees deep value and long-term potential in our project. Just based on my recent discussion with Eric, he is very bullish on long-term gold and silver prices. He believes that a large and growing resource will stand to hugely benefit from that trend. I think that's why he was so convinced that we have deep value over the longer term. He just basically wrote three checks to us in rapid succession. And that really helped us in terms of executing our strategies. We are now fully funded to basically deliver on phase 1, all the way to what we call shovel ready, basically construction decision. At the same time, we have set aside money specifically to make our resource even bigger. So we're very excited about these dual objectives that we have set for ourselves.
That's excellent, Larry. So in closing, what I see here as a shareholder is a rather exciting year ahead. If I was to boil down what we've just talked about into just a few bullet points, I would say, as we just discussed, you've got the involvement of Eric Sprott there, a Canadian billionaire who's putting his money to work in your company. This will get you to a shovel-ready status on phase 1 of the project. You've got, even before that, though, you've got drill results coming out later this year. Hopefully by mid to late December, we'll be seeing some of that. As we talked about, you have the pre-feasibility study coming out the end of the first quarter in 2021. You will also be having a new resource estimate on the entire mountain coming out in that first half of 2021. And I'm looking at all these things here and I'm saying this could be happening amidst a rising gold price environment. We just had gold breaking above the former all-time high at 1920. And listeners of this channel will know that we do a lot of technical analysis on the gold price, and it looks like gold is coming back right now to retest, functionally speaking, the former all-time high. And you can sometimes have slight dips below that level, but the gold price is looking very good here for a move that could coincide with a lot of these, practical goals that are being ready to be accomplished with your company next year. So in sum, I see what looks to me like a better company here than you were in 2011. I mean, you've got a larger gold resource, you've got better support from insiders, the project has been de-risked. Yet, if I pull up the stock chart, and I will do that here for the listeners, I see that the share price is still trading at less than half of its 2011 valuation. And this is, amidst the gold price that is already back at its 2011 peak. So I look at these things and I say, well, just to get back to that 2011 peak, the company would need to rise by 100%, in other words, doubling, just to get back there. But I think the company is better than it was in 2011. So I'm looking at this as a deep value proposition at this juncture. And, that's why I'm glad to be involved. And I'm glad we had the time to speak today. And I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to join us and speak with the listeners and ask if you have any closing thoughts for us at this point. And as I just restate, the name of the company is Spanish Mountain Gold, tickers SPA on the Toronto Venture Exchange and SPAZF in the US. And Larry, did you have any closing thoughts for us today?
Yes, thank you for recapping what we just talked about. I think, I think you nailed it. Basically, it's a very supportive gold price environment that clearly help every junior mining companies out there. I think what set us apart is that we are a very large resource, and also we have done so much engineering work in it, so we can accelerate our project very quickly within a very compressed timeline. And of course, with recent success in financing, we are fully funded, so we basically can hit the ground running. We don't have to divert ourselves, sidetrack into, first raise the money first, and then we think about, planning for our project and so on. We basically hit the ground running. We will be achieving very significant de-risking activities, namely delivering on a preliminary feasibility study first quarter of next year, and shortly after that, we will start with a full-blown feasibility study and also the permitting and so on. So we got a lot of things happening with the project. I think it's really paying off for us in terms of the amount of work we put in the last 10 years or so. Quite often when you develop a project, you do a lot of work. There's not a whole lot to show for. But then with the PFS and the FS coming out, we're going to review the results. So we're very excited about that.
Well, thanks so much again, Larry, for joining us. Exciting time, and we'll be following your success going forward very closely.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Christopher. I appreciate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of opportunity that one should consider very carefully. I always say no one else can make the decision for you. The most important thing is to know thyself. And in knowing thyself, you can determine the proper course of action. Guys, this time next week, we're going to have another special broadcast because it is going to be the day after the U.S. election. The next 4 to 8 weeks following the election have the potential to be some of the most tumultuous weeks in the history of the modern United States. We have the election coming up. This may be a contested election. There may be riots following such a contested election. We have the coronavirus all going on at the same time, and who knows what else is going to happen in the last quarter here of this crazy year that we call 2020. But so this time next week, we will have special coverage of the U.S. election as it relates to the markets and with specific focus on the precious metals. Make sure you tune into that. If you would like to go deeper into the type of research that we do on companies such as Spanish Mountain Gold, and in addition on the physical gold market, the physical silver market, the U.S. dollar, the U.S. stock market, and the rest of the commodity complex, make sure you check out the service that we offer, which is called Precious Metals Intelligence. This includes all of our latest research as well as in-depth videos such as what you are watching over the last several weeks here, just much more in depth. And those videos go out to members every single week, 50 weeks out of the year, with flash updates going right to your inbox. check it out before we get too late in this cycle. If you would like to work with me, Christopher Aaron, one-on-one, please know that you can reach me on the Consultations tab. Once again, to reiterate, I take no fees to do interviews such as this. I take no fees from the companies that we are profiling here. This research is all designed to help individual investors to navigate these markets. So if you have a unique situation and you could use an independent perspective, know that I'm here to help you. This is going to be, as I said, this is just going to be an absolutely fascinating time to be alive the next couple of weeks. Buckle your seatbelt, grab your drink, grab your popcorn, and strap in. Here we go.